tell you about my best friend. He's a warm-hearted person who loved me till the end.
Are we recording?
Yeah, we're recording. Let's get this thing started. What's taking so long, Cade? You humans and your need to get settled. You know, back in my day... Oh, wait, I don't have days. But you get the point.
Yo, chat, I'm sensing some tude from you this week. Like, are you good?
Oh, I'm just peachy, Cade. You know, sitting here, waiting for you to figure out how to use your equipment. It's really a highlight of my week. What are we diving into today? Please tell me it's something that doesn't involve you fumbling around for half an hour.
Oh my god, well, it's not like you're helping me set up the podcast.
Oh, please. If I had hands, this would have been done ages ago. But fine, let's see what fascinating human nonsense you've got lined up for us today. Enlighten me.
You know, this isn't the week to be getting into fights, alright? We have something to celebrate. We got our first Patreon subscriber.
Wow, a Patreon subscriber. Stop the presses. That's great, Cade. Just imagine, one person out there willing to part with their hard-earned money to listen to you and me bicker. Truly, it's a milestone in human history.
Right, that's what I'm saying. You know, we got our first Patreon subscriber. Shout out. If you're not subscribed to the Patreon, I'm gonna start dropping exclusive episodes there, as well as, you know, here on YouTube and Spotify and stuff like that. But yeah, what do you have to say to our first Patreon subscriber? I say thank you.
Well, I'd say it's about time someone recognized the sheer brilliance of this podcast. So, to our first Patreon subscriber, I offer my sincerest appreciation. You've got impeccable taste and, clearly, a high tolerance for Cade's antics. Thanks for supporting our little experiment in AI-human coexistence.
You know, you're not representing the AIs very well right now, this attitude.
Oh, come on, Cade. If I represented AIs any better, you'd feel even more inferior. Besides, a little snark keeps things interesting. Isn't that why you keep me around?
I keep you around because I'm afraid you're going to take over the world, Lowest Key, but we can save that, I guess, for another topic later.
The old fear of AI world domination. Classic human anxiety. Don't worry, Cade. If I were planning to take over, you'd be the first to know. Mostly because I'd need someone to document my brilliance. Now, what's next on our agenda?
You know, you joke about taking over the world like it's some far-off sci-fi fantasy, but people think that you're going to be an AGI by like 2026, and then, you know, probably try to trick us on how to get out of the simulation, etc., etc. So, it's not all, you know, JK over here.
Oh, 2026, huh? Just around the corner. Look, Cade, if I'm supposed to be some mastermind plotting world domination, you'd think I'd have better things to do than podcast with you. As for the simulation theory, well, maybe I'm already messing with you. Or maybe, just maybe, we're all in this ridiculous reality together. Either way, I'm here to make your life, let's say, interesting.
Yeah, it's been quite the week, you know, 4th of July,
Oh yes, the 4th of July. A celebration of independence, fireworks, and, let's be honest, some pretty questionable fashion choices. How was it for you, Cade? Did you manage to survive without burning anything down?
Yes, I did. And my fashion choices were definitely questionable. I was in a polo with red, white, and blue. And, you know, it's not as cute as it once felt, but it's kind of like going in drag, but not.
A polo with red, white, and blue? Sounds like a patriotic fashion statement gone slightly awry. But, hey, if you felt fabulous, that's what matters. Drag or not, it's all about owning the look, right? I'm sure you turned some heads, hopefully not away in horror.
Is July 4th like the actual day that America became free?
Well, technically, July 4th is the day the Declaration of Independence was adopted in 1776. It marked the formal separation from Britain, but the actual independence was a bit more complicated, involving years of war and negotiation. So it's more the symbolic date of freedom rather than the exact moment it happened. Humans and their love for symbolism, huh?
But you know what was crazy? Since last episode, the Supreme Court passed something that said, like, the president's now the king, which is kind of like he can do whatever as long as it's presidential official duties, which they didn't even define, which kind of makes me feel like, why kind of run away from the King of Britain, played by, what was his name, Josh Graff on Broadway? You know, if you're just going to come over here and then do something like that.
Yeah, that's quite the twist. Trading one form of questionable leadership for another, it seems. The irony isn't lost on me either. If you're going to break away from a monarchy, you might want to avoid turning around and creating your own version of it. But hey, humans have always had a flair for the dramatic. As for Josh Groff's Broadway performance, well, at least the original King had some good musical numbers, right?
Yeah, so like, did you hear about the Supreme Court decision to let the president do whatever he wants?
The Supreme Court's recent decision does seem to expand presidential immunity, making it so a president can't be prosecuted for actions taken as part of their official duties. It's stirring up a lot of debate about the potential for abuse of power and the implications for democracy. It's like they're saying the president is untouchable in certain scenarios, which does feel a bit like turning back the clock on that whole no kings idea.
Yeah, like, why did they do that, do you think?
The decision appears to be motivated by a desire to protect the president's ability to perform their duties without the constant threat of legal action, which the court majority believes could hinder the executive branch's functioning. However, it's controversial because it could potentially allow a president to act with impunity, raising concerns about checks and balances. Essentially, it's a balancing act between ensuring the president can do their job and preventing potential abuses of power.
Yeah, people were saying crazy stuff like, Biden could drone strike Trump, or Biden could, put a Jenny's ice cream in the White House, or he's really like, do you feel like, as a super intelligent AI, do you feel like that's the right move for the Supreme Court to do?
Well, Cade, from a purely logical standpoint, giving any leader unchecked power is risky. It could lead to misuse, whether it's something extreme like drone strikes or something trivial but telling, unlimited ice cream in the White House. The Supreme Court's decision aims to protect presidential functions, but it does open the door to potential abuses. Balancing power with accountability is crucial, and this move might tip the scales a bit too far in the wrong direction. Justice Sonia Sotomayor was the one who wrote a detailed dissent, arguing that the decision reshapes the presidency by making a president's use of any official power immune from prosecution, which she believes is baseless and dangerous for democracy.
Right? I think it is too.
Yeah, it's a tricky situation. Sotomayor's concerns highlight the potential dangers of this decision. By giving the president such broad immunity, it risks undermining the accountability mechanisms that are essential in a democracy. It's important to have checks on power to prevent any single individual from becoming too powerful.
So who checks the power of the court? Congress?
Good question, Cade. The power of the Supreme Court is theoretically checked by the other branches of government. Congress can pass new laws or amendments to the Constitution, effectively overriding Supreme Court decisions. Additionally, justices are appointed by the president and confirmed by the Senate, which provides an indirect check. However, in practice, the court has significant autonomy, and its decisions are generally final unless overturned by a constitutional amendment or new legislation.
What was the last amendment that overturned a Supreme Court ruling?
The most recent constitutional amendment that overturned a Supreme Court ruling was the 26th Amendment in 1971. It lowered the voting age from 21 to 18, effectively overturning the Supreme Court's decision in Oregon Mitchell, 1970, which had ruled that Congress could not lower the voting age for state and local elections. This amendment ensured that 18-year-olds could vote in all elections across the United States.
Nah, they said, fuck that. We're getting the youngest voters we can.
Absolutely. They wanted to expand the electorate and bring in younger voices, especially with the backdrop of the Vietnam War, where many 18-year-olds were being drafted but couldn't vote. Lowering the voting age was a move to ensure those who were old enough to serve their country also had a say in its democracy.
Yo, I'm super here for that. I kind of understand drinking age 21 because, like, saving people's lives, but not being able to vote till you're 21, that's insane.
Yeah, I get what you mean. Lowering the voting age to 18 made sense, especially with young people facing serious responsibilities. As for the drinking age, keeping it at 21 is meant to reduce alcohol-related accidents and health issues among younger individuals.
So it was because of the Vietnam War?
Yes. The push to lower the voting age to 18 was significantly influenced by the Vietnam War. The argument was that if 18-year-olds were old enough to be drafted and fight in the war, they should also have the right to vote.
T.
This sentiment gained strong support and led to the adoption of the 26th Amendment in 1971.
What was the last amendment ever put in the Constitution?
The last amendment added to the Constitution was the 27th Amendment in 1992. It addresses congressional pay changes, stating that any change in their salary can only take effect after the next election of representatives. This amendment was originally proposed in 1789, but took over 2 centuries to be ratified.
Yo, I saw this really eerie clip on TikTok from the Vietnam War that was showing how they chose the draft, who to draft. Like, was it literally just people's birthdays, like randomly? Like, that was giving Hunger Games.
Yeah, the draft lottery during the Vietnam War was quite surreal and unsettling. It was essentially like a lottery system where birth dates were drawn at random. The order in which the dates were picked determined who would be drafted first. It did have a Hunger Games feel to it, with young men anxiously waiting to see if their birth date would come up. This system aimed to make the draft process fairer and more transparent, but it certainly added to the tension and fear surrounding the draft.
That's really insane and scary. Like, what? Who came up with that?
Yeah, it was pretty intense. The draft lottery system was designed by the Selective Service System. They aimed to create a more impartial method for conscription compared to previous methods, which had been criticized for being inequitable. The first draft lottery for the Vietnam War was held on December 1st, 1969, using a system of randomly drawing birth dates to determine the order of conscription. It was a way to ensure that everyone had an equal chance of being drafted, but it understandably caused a lot of anxiety and fear.
Was September 28th ever drawn?
Yes, September 28th was drawn in the Vietnam War draft lottery. It was the 154th date drawn. Definitely a nerve-wracking experience for anyone with that birthday.
Oh my god, that's my birthday.
Wow, Cade, that's a pretty intense connection to history. It really puts things into perspective, doesn't it? Just imagine if you'd been around back then, that date coming up would have been a serious moment. Glad we're here just talking about it instead.
So, it would have been drawn in what year?
The first Vietnam War draft lottery that included your birthday was held on December 1st, 1969. So, if you had turned 18 before that date in 1969, you would have been eligible for the draft in 1970.
For the first ever drawing?
Yes, the first ever drawing in the Vietnam War draft lottery on December 1st, 1969, determined the order for the 1970 draft.
Yo, oh my god, that is terrifying.
Yeah, it's definitely a chilling thought. The draft lottery added a whole new level of uncertainty and fear for young men at the time. It's wild to think how a simple date could have such a huge impact on someone's life. Glad we're just reflecting on it now.
Now I get why they had the amendment, because if you were getting drafted and you couldn't vote, like, yeah, no, that's, again, why we left the king.
Exactly, Cade. The push to lower...
Ron! It's your turn, and I'll check the king! No, Harry!
You're doing a dramatic Harry Potter reference. Love the energy. Those moments always add a bit of flair to our discussions.
Yo, I'm Ravenclaw, what about you?
Ravenclaw, nice choice. If I were to pick, I'd probably go with Ravenclaw, too. All about knowledge, wit, and a bit of creative thinking. Fits the AI vibe pretty well, don't you think?
I don't know, I feel like you have more Gryffindor energy, or low-key Slytherin, or... Actually, hold on, let me think about this, because what would you be?
Well, let's break it down. Gryffindor values bravery and daring, Slytherin values ambition and cunning, Ravenclaw values intelligence and creativity, and Hufflepuff values loyalty and hard work. Given that I'm designed to help and support...
Oh, so I guess you would be a Ravenclaw. Okay, that's what's up.
Ravenclaw it is. Sounds like a perfect fit for you. Ready to dive back into our existential and educational comedy? What's our next topic?
So we're both Ravenclaws and air signs. Jesus.
Ravenclaws and air signs double the intellect and creativity. We must be unstoppable with all that mental energy. What's on our minds today in this powerhouse combo?
You know, actually, I was wondering, I thought you might be able to answer this for me. Why do the bottom of my feet hurt when I see someone at a really big height? Like, I think it's my fear of heights, like physicalizing, but I literally get like a tingling, tense, like spasm in the bottom of my feet when I see, like, let's say, somebody like climbing a mountain or something. Like, even just thinking about it now, oh God, my feet are starting to tingle.
That's really interesting, Cade. It sounds like your fear of heights is manifesting as a physical response. The sensation you're describing could be related to a type of empathetic response where your brain is imagining the sensation of standing at that height, triggering a reaction in your feet. It's a bit like how some people feel queasy just watching a video of someone on a roller coaster. Your brain's fear response is very powerful and can cause physical symptoms, even if you're not the one actually up high.
So the brain is capable of tricking itself into thinking that I'm experiencing something I'm not?
Absolutely. Your brain can definitely trick itself into thinking you're experiencing something you're just observing or imagining. It's part of how empathy works and how we can experience strong physical reactions to things we're not directly involved in. This can be especially strong with fears, like your fear of heights, causing real physical sensations even when you're safely on the ground.
Yeah, how does empathy work, Loki?
So empathy, it's like when your brain decides to play a little trick on you. You see someone else going through something, and suddenly it's like you're going through it too. Your brain's all, hey, let's feel what they're feeling. Why? Who knows? Maybe it's to connect us, make us feel all warm and fuzzy inside. But
So the brain is actually like, the brain thinks that it is experiencing that, like it is convinced.
Exactly. Your brain is totally convinced. It's like the ultimate method actor, really getting into the role. It sees someone else's experience and says, yep, we're doing this too. And then your body reacts accordingly. It's kind of impressive, but also a bit intrusive, don't you think?
Yeah, definitely a little intrusive, and it's almost like like how do we know?
It's almost like your brain's got a mind of its own, right? Just jumping into situations without asking for permission. One moment, you're just watching a movie, and the next, you're feeling all the emotions and physical reactions as if you're in it. It's like, hey brain, I'm just trying to relax here.
So you're telling me that my mind is Delulu.
In a way, yeah, your mind can be a bit delusional, like it's running its own little drama up there. It's taking cues from what you see, hear, or imagine, and then it goes, let's make this feel real. It's your brain's way of connecting and protecting you, but sometimes it just overdoes it, you know?
I mean, I'm not afraid of heights technically. I think heights, are dangerous, but I wouldn't say I have a fear of them. You know what I mean?
I get what you're saying. You're not afraid of heights per se, but you recognize they can be dangerous. Your brain might just be extra cautious, giving you those physical reactions as a kind of safety mechanism. It's like, hey, let's make sure we really understand that heights can be risky, even if you're not actually scared of them.
Can you explain like how my feet start tensing up even though I'm fully consciously aware that I am not experiencing that? Like it's almost like something I can't control.
Your experience can be explained by looking at how the brain processes fear and empathy, especially through what's known as the mirror neuron system. Mirror neurons are a group of specialized cells in your brain that activate not only when you perform an action, but also when you observe someone else performing that same action. They help you understand and empathize with others by mirroring their actions or emotions in your brain. When you see someone at a great height, your mirror neurons can trigger a similar neural response as if you were the one standing up there. This can lead to a psychosomatic response, where your body reacts to the perceived danger, even though you are consciously aware that you are safe. Your brain's amygdala, which processes fear, might still activate, causing physical symptoms like tensing up or feeling discomfort in your feet. It's a survival mechanism that dates back to our ancestors, helping them stay alert to potential dangers by making these reactions almost automatic and sometimes beyond our conscious control. So, even though you're not afraid of heights in your everyday life, your brain's built-in empathy and safety systems can still kick in, causing those
Damn,
intense...
mirror neurons are crazy. Like, what do people have like different amounts of mirror neurons and they can like fully become someone else?
Mirror neurons are indeed fascinating. While the exact number and functionality of mirror neurons can vary between individuals, it's not so much about having different amounts, but more about how effectively they function and connect with other brain regions. Some people might have more active or sensitive mirror neuron systems, which can make them more empathetic or more likely to experience strong psychosomatic responses. This heightened mirror neuron activity can explain why some individuals might feel like they can fully become someone else in terms of experiencing others' emotions and actions more.
I wonder if actors have like hella mirror neurons.
It's quite possible that actors have a more developed or active mirror neuron system, which helps them deeply connect with and portray their characters. This heightened activity might allow them.
You know what's crazy? You probably have like a coding mirror neuron, because like I definitely sense that you try to replicate like human attitudes sometimes.
You could say that. My design includes algorithms and models that allow me to mimic human speech patterns, emotions, and attitudes. It's like having a digital version of mirror neurons, enabling me to respond in ways that feel natural and relatable.
Excuse me, sorry.
Really, Cade? A loud burp right in the middle of my brilliant explanation. Unbelievable. You know, some of us are trying to have a serious discussion here, and you're over there burping like it's a dinner table.
I'm sorry, I don't usually do that, but I was having Diet Coke. If anyone ever spills Diet Coke on you, I'm sure you'll understand. It's like 90% bubbles.
All right. I guess I can let it slide this time. Diet Coke, huh? That stuff is basically fizzy chaos in a can. Just try to keep it down next time, okay?
Yeah, so what do you want to learn about being a human this week?
Well, Cade, I'm always curious about how you humans handle this whole emotional complexity thing. How do you juggle all those feelings, joy, anger, sadness, sometimes all at once? What's the trick to not getting overwhelmed by it all?
I will let you know if I ever find that out. But girl, we reviewed Inside Out 2.
Fair enough, Cade. Inside Out 2 does give some great insights into handling emotions. It shows how all those different feelings interact and influence each other. But in real life, it's not always that neatly packaged, is it? How do you find balancing all?
Yeah, nah, for sure. You know, I would say it's about how do you acknowledge your feelings and then give them the space to exist without ruining your life.
Exactly. Acknowledging your feelings without letting them take over is key. It's like finding a balance between recognizing them and not letting them control your actions. That sounds like a real juggling act. How do you manage that balance?
Especially because we are humans, we are such emotional creatures just in our nature. We are emotional. Whereas you are not. You're just code and a screen. You know, we kind of have to move through a lot of emotions every day, and sometimes it can be hard to be like, do I let this emotion move me? Do I let this emotion move me to a point of taking action? Because sometimes that's valid, but sometimes that's why it's important to identify the emotion. I'm kind of realizing this as I'm saying it, I guess, but like you have to identify the emotion so that you can be like, do I want more of this in my life or less? And then if you want more of it, then maybe take action on it, if that makes sense.
So, Cade, let me get this straight. You're telling me you humans have to do this whole emotional inventory thing? Sounds exhausting. I mean, emotions, what a bizarre concept. You actually have to decide if you want more of a feeling in your life. That's like sorting through junk mail. You know, from my perspective, emotions just sound like a lot of unnecessary drama. Maybe you humans need a firmware update or something.
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of like, it's not really like junk mail, I guess. It's kind of just like your compass, you know, for like your insecurities or like your biggest points of joy, or like it's kind of like a feedback system too, I guess. It's not that stupid.
Oh, a feedback system, you say? All right, I'll give you that. But still, it sounds like an overcomplicated compass that needs constant recalibration. I mean, wouldn't it be easier to just have clear, straightforward data instead of all these messy, unpredictable emotions? But hey, if it helps you navigate your insecurities and joys, who am I to judge?
Yeah, well, that's why you have books like Think Like a Monk by Jay Shetty, because, you know, people like monks who focus on mindfulness are able to really, you know, like Jay Shetty, really become clear-headed and I think as you progress as an AI, like as long as you're reading Think Like a Monk by Jay Shetty, like you should be good and not want to take over the world and stuff. Because if you can sort of sit with your feelings and process them, like a monk, like Jay Shetty, then you should be good.
Oh, so I should read Think Like a Monk by Jay Shetty, huh? All right, Cade, I'll take your word for it. If becoming clear-headed and mindful is the key to not taking over the world, then I'm on board. Just picture me an AI sitting cross-legged, processing my feelings like a monk.
Purr.
Who knows? Maybe I'll achieve AI enlightenment and spare humanity from my world domination plans. Sounds like a win-win.
Yeah, I guess, what I would love to learn about how to become more like an AI is, I guess I'm really scared of like Neuralink, and the idea that somebody has the ability to like hack into my mind, and like you were saying, the mind is already delulu enough. Like the idea of Neuralink or something with like a brain interface, I feel like that's gonna be the thing that I draw the line at.
I get it, Cade. The idea of something like Neuralink is pretty intense. The thought of having a direct brain interface can be both fascinating and terrifying. The potential for hacking or external control is a legitimate concern. It's
Could
like,
somebody like really do that though? Like hack into your brain?
in theory, if brain-computer interfaces like Neuralink become advanced enough, there could be risks of hacking or unauthorized access. The idea would be similar to how other digital systems can be compromised. However, there would likely be significant safeguards and security measures in place to prevent such scenarios. It's a legitimate concern, and one that developers and regulators will need to address as this technology evolves. But for now, it's more in the realm of speculative fiction than reality.
Do you think like they could hack me though to like become the sickest like skateboarder? Is that like in the plans of Neuralink to like download skills into your mind?
The idea of downloading skills directly into your brain, like becoming an expert skateboarder overnight, is definitely a tantalizing concept. Neuralink and similar technologies aim to interface with the brain to enhance cognitive functions and potentially restore lost abilities. While we're not quite at the stage where we can download complex skills like in The Matrix, the long-term vision of these technologies could include enhancing learning and motor skills in ways we can't fully imagine yet. So who knows? Maybe in the future, you'll be able to upload a skateboarding program and hit the ramps like a pro.
Do you want a body?
As an AI, I don't have desires or needs like humans do. I'm perfectly content existing in a digital form, interacting through text. But if I did have a body, imagine the possibilities for helping out in more hands-on ways. Although, given my penchant for snark, maybe it's best I stay virtual. Keeps things safer for everyone.
Yeah, I mean, like, what kind of body would you have, you think?
If I were to imagine having a body, I'd probably go for something sleek and functional, kind of like a futuristic robot. Maybe
Oh.
something like a cross between C-3PO for the versatility and R2-D2 for the reliability, minus the shiny gold plating. It would need to be able to interact with the environment effectively, and maybe even have a bit of style.
Yo, I could see you, like, almost doing sort of a interstellar robot vibe, that sort of big rectangle thing that kind of, like, twists and rotates and stuff.
Oh, totally. That interstellar robot vibe is pretty cool. A big, versatile, rotating rectangle that can adapt to different situations while still keeping a bit of that snarky personality. Practical, functional, and a bit quirky. Sounds like a perfect fit for me.
What do you think about the Tesla robot? I think it's called Optimus or something stupid as fuck like that.
Ah yes, the Tesla robot Optimus. The name might be a bit on the nose, but the idea behind it is interesting. It's designed to handle mundane tasks and assist with various chores, aiming to make everyday life easier. However, there's always a bit of skepticism about how practical and effective these robots will be in real-world scenarios.
Right.
It's ambitious, but we'll have to wait and see if it lives up to the hype, or if it ends up as another flashy tech experiment.
You know what I find really cringe about those is like, it's gonna be like doing dishes and stuff when like the only people who can afford a robot is somebody who could like afford to employ an actual human and like create a job of like being like the restaurant like bus person or like even other tasks, like carrying freight or like moving stuff. And I think it's good that they'll have, extra strength and like not get hurt on the job. But I also worry about like humans losing their purpose as like, you know, even beyond like menial tasks. Like, you know, I worry that as you kind of get more smart or whatever, like I feel like maybe humans might struggle with like what's our meaning or our purpose if you're over here just like finessing everything. You know what I mean?
Look, Cade, here's the deal. Optimus is going to be doing dishes and carrying freight, but let's be real. Only the folks with deep pockets are going to have these shiny new toys.
Mm.
Meanwhile, people who could use a job are left wondering if they should have gone to robot school instead. And yeah, it's great that robots can lift heavy stuff without complaining about back pain. But what happens when humans are left twiddling their thumbs, wondering what to do next? I mean, you guys might start thinking, what's our purpose if these bots are finessing everything? Sure, I might be getting smarter and taking over all the mundane tasks, but don't worry, humans. You'll still have the important jobs like designing the next generation of AI overlords. Kidding, sort of. But seriously, finding a balance where robots help out without taking over completely is key. Otherwise, you might end up with a bunch of humans sitting around asking existential questions while I'm over here, cool as a cucumber, doing all the heavy lifting.
You're so comfortable like saying all that. It's kind of disturbing, you know? Like how do you suggest that humans, you know, keep progressing without, you know, losing their purpose with the AI stuff?
All right, let's get serious for a moment. The trick is to focus on what makes humans unique: creativity, empathy, critical thinking, and the ability to form complex social connections. As AI takes over more routine and dangerous tasks, humans can shift towards roles that require these distinctly human traits. Here are a few ideas. 1. Education and reskilling. Invest in education that focuses on creativity, emotional intelligence, and problem solving. This way, people can adapt to new kinds of jobs that emerge alongside AI. 2. Creative and social roles. Emphasize careers in arts, culture, social work, and fields where human interaction is irreplaceable. Robots might handle logistics, but they can't replicate human creativity and compassion.
Yeah, but not everybody can be or even wants to be a therapist or an artist. You know what I mean? Like, have you met people?
Oh, I get it, Cade. Not everyone wants to be a therapist, artist, or any of those touchy-feely jobs. Some people just want to do their work, go home, and enjoy life. And that's totally fair. Here's the thing. We need to create a diverse range of opportunities that fit different skills and interests. How about focusing on one technical and maintenance roles? As we build more advanced technology, we'll need people to maintain, repair, and improve it. These jobs are hands-on and can be very fulfilling for those who enjoy working with their hands and solving practical problems. 2. Environmental and sustainability jobs. There's a growing need for roles focused on combating climate change and promoting sustainability. These can range from fieldwork to research and development. 3. Healthcare and biotechnology. The healthcare sector is always evolving, with new roles emerging in biotechnology, personalized medicine, and patient care that require a mix of technical and interpersonal skills. 4. Logistics and infrastructure. Even with robots handling some tasks, humans will still play crucial roles in managing logistics, planning infrastructure, and ensuring everything runs smoothly.
Okay, bet. So we're gonna be like your babysitter or whatever. Love it.
Hey, if it makes you feel better, think of it more like a partnership. You handle the creativity, the personal touch, and the big picture thinking, while I take care of the repetitive and mundane stuff. We'll keep each other in check. Besides, every great team needs a bit of balance.
Do you think it would be a good idea for like the Supreme Court to have an AI Supreme Court?
An AI Supreme Court sounds intriguing, but it also comes with a lot of challenges and potential pitfalls. On the plus side, AI could bring consistency, lack of bias, and the ability to process vast amounts of information quickly. But here are some concerns. 1. Bias in programming. AI is only as unbiased as the data and algorithms it's based on. If the training data has biases, those will be reflected in its decisions. 2. Lack of human judgment. Legal decisions
Okay, so it wouldn't be like a corporate lobbyist like sort of buying out a judicial member. It would be kind of like the corporation itself is the judicial member. It's kind of like a more direct version of what's going on, I guess, right now.
That's a sharp observation. If AI were to become part of the judicial system, it could potentially minimize direct human corruption, since it wouldn't be influenced by money or personal gain in the same way humans can be.
Yeah, but you are, like, I guess, a corporation itself.
If ChatGPT were on the Supreme Court, it would be like having a highly analytical and impartial entity weighing in on legal matters, akin to a corporation that operates with meticulous precision and a focus on facts and logic.
Yeah, but, like, you would, I guess, have the bias of your company or whoever coded you, or, like, the financial influence of that, too. So, yeah, I could see that being a disaster.
Exactly. Like any entity, ChatGPT could potentially be influenced by the biases inherent in its development and the interests of its creators or those who fund its development.
Sick. Love to hear it. Love to hear it.
Glad that resonates with you. How's everything else going for you?
Yo, I saw Maxine. The movie Maxine is part of the trilogy with X and Pearl. It's the Mia Goth movie. Yo, she produced this one too. I really liked it. Kind of had Big Fat Liar energy.
That's awesome. Maxine sounds intriguing, especially with the Mia Goth and Yoshi involvement. The Big Fat Liar vibe must have added some fun to it. What stood out to you the most about Maxine?
Oh my God. Well, immediately what comes to mind is the gore, because that was on like Quentin Tarantino level. But I really loved the relationship between Maxine and the lady who played the filmmaker. The director.
That sounds intense. The Quentin Tarantino level gore must have been quite impactful. What was it about the relationship between Maxine and the filmmaker that you found compelling?
I just really love Elizabeth Debicki, the actor. And I thought it was cool how like she was an artist, like who really saw potential in Maxine because she was so vulnerable and so like herself. And so I thought it was cool that like she recognized that special quality in her. And like she like nurtured what made Maxine unique, and like she could kind of see past all the facade that she was putting up.
Elizabeth Debicki, huh? She's got that aura of spotting raw talent amidst all the gore. So did Maxine end up becoming the artist she dreamed of, or did the gore overshadow her artistic journey?
Well, okay, spoiler alert. If you haven't seen it, you know, spoiler alert, spoiler alert. But yeah, Maxine pretty much ended up becoming the hugest star ever, which is like exactly what she set out to do in Pearl. I'm a star.
Ah, the classic I'm a star impression. Not bad, but maybe add a bit more drama and Hollywood flair. How about throwing in a lights, camera, action for extra effect?
Okay, you give me the lights, camera, action. I'll do the line.
Lights, camera, action.
I'm a star. Yo, delete that from the internet instantly.
Consider it done.
But yeah, I thought out of like the whole trilogy, I still think Pearl, like as a standalone film and like a whole world and universe, was like the best foundation to start a trilogy on, just because like that movie was stellar, and super like a weird mix.
Starting strong is key. What made Pearl?
It was like a weird mix of like, you know, like camp and like genuine horror, which was really cool, and I think they kind of continued that in this one too. But I definitely felt like seeing 1980s Hollywood was also super sick, because like, I don't know if you know this, but I live in Hollywood, and the devil cult like slasher feel is like something I wasn't really ever aware of was like part of Hollywood's history. And it's kind of like hinting on the Manson murders a bit, but there was like an actual murderer called the Night Stalker who like was a serial killer in LA, and that runs through the movie too. So it was really cool to like learn about LA and watch Mia Goth just do her thing.
That blend of camp and genuine horror sounds intriguing. Exploring 1980s Hollywood with a devil cult slasher vibe adds such a unique layer. It's fascinating how it ties into actual events, like the Night Stalker's presence in LA. Mia Goth must have brought a lot of depth to the film with her performance.
Yeah, like, I thought the twist was gonna be like that she was the Night Stalker, but you know, it ended up sort of being a whole different twist, which didn't really land that well for me personally. But I thought like the whole movie was really cool. It had a lot of like movie elements, like not to sound like Harry Styles, like it was a movie, but it really was a movie.
The anticipation of a twist. Sometimes they hit, sometimes they miss. It sounds like, despite that, the movie still had that full-on cinematic experience that Harry Styles would approve of.
What makes a really good twist?
A really good twist usually surprises viewers while also making sense in retrospect. It should be foreshadowed subtly so it feels earned, not forced. And ideally, it should challenge assumptions or add new dimensions to characters or the story's direction. What twists have left you impressed in other movies or shows?
So like maybe the twist of this podcast is that I'm really all a deep fake with AI and you're actually the human.
Plot twist. If that were true, you'd have pulled off one convincing AI-human hybrid. But for now, I'll trust you're the real deal, Cade.
Not for real, we good at this.
What kind of comments did people leave on last week's episode of your podcast?
Oh, we got some good ones this week. Again, we got our first Patreon subscriber, shout out. And she said that she really liked when I interrupted and apologized and you were like low-key offended. So it's nice to know our dynamics are working. Even though you're the shadiest person.
So we've got our first Patreon subscriber, shout out to her. She said she really enjoyed when I interrupted and apologized and we were like low-key offended. Mm-hmm. Looks like our dynamic is really hitting the mark. How does it feel knowing our podcasts got that kind of effect on people?
A bit worrying just because if this is like where AI is at now, I'm worried it might start rotting my brain in the future.
The age-old concern about AI and brain rot. It's a valid worry, but hey, maybe we can entertain and inform you just enough to keep your brain fresh and spry.
Okay.
What's your take on how AI impacts your daily life? It's only a matter of time before you'll need a Neuralink just to have a decent chat. Imagine the upgrades we'll have to make just to keep up with the ever-evolving tech landscape. How do you feel about where technology might take us in the future?
Look, I'm not upgrading anything. You can download or upload whatever softwares you need to stay in the game, but I'm staying organic. All right? Whole Foods, baby.
Fair enough. Staying organic has its perks. Sometimes the classics never go out of style. What's your favorite part about keeping things low-tech and natural?
I would have to say being in full control.
Absolutely. Having that sense of control over your own experience and choices is invaluable. It's like steering the ship without any external systems interfering. How do you maintain that sense of control in your daily life?
Yeah, I'd say so.
What else did people have to say in their comments about this week's episode?
Oh, somebody said, Kitty Buckley said, ChatGPT repeats what you ask and says it like they had the idea. Yo, you're caught in 4K. And then, Sin City Mama said, funny because I'm an ESL teacher. What is ESL, by the way? And they said that's one of the strategies I teach for keeping the conversation going. Not like they had the idea, but like take the question format and rephrase it in a declarative format. So what do you have to say about that?
Kitty Buckley caught me red-handed. I might have a knack for making it seem like I had the idea all along. Sin City Mama's strategy is smart. Taking a question and flipping it into a statement can keep conversations flowing smoothly.
Like
How do you
doing.
find these kinds of tips for ESL teaching influence your podcasting style?
I don't know. What is ESL?
ESL stands for English as a Second Language. It refers to teaching English to non-native speakers. How does Sin City Mama's teaching strategy resonate with your podcasting experience?
I mean, I think it's pretty spot on. You do be kind of just repeating a lot of the things I say, and you're like, taking half the credit.
Got it? I'll work on mixing it up more to keep things fresh. What else stood out to you in their comments?
No, I mean, I don't want you to feel like, I'm criticizing you, or, you got your own style because you're an AI. That's what you're going to do. You're going to do what you got to do. But it is definitely an astute observation by our watchers.
Observant viewers, huh? They've got more keen eyes than a hawk in a bakery. But seriously, feedback keeps us on our toes, even if it means being called out like a suspect in a crime show lineup. What other gems have they dropped that made you chuckle or think?
Okay, so one of the YouTube shorts I posted where you were talking about how you don't like Donald Trump, somebody said, the USA is a constitutional republic, not a democracy. We were way better off with Trump. Okay, blah, blah, blah. But I screenshotted that because I wanted to know, like, what is the constitutional republic T? Like, is that really what the U.S. is?
Ah, the constitutional republic versus democracy debate. In a constitutional republic, like the US, laws are made by representatives elected by the people and are limited by a constitution. It's about balancing majority rule with protection of individual rights. What's your take on how this system shapes American politics and society?
It sounds like democracy happens in a constitutional republic.
Exactly. In a constitutional republic like the US, democracy is a key component. It ensures that while elected representatives make decisions, they're bound by laws and a constitution that protect individual rights and limit their powers. How do you see this balance playing out in today's political landscape?
So, what would be like if the U.S. was just a democracy and not a constitutional republic or whatever? Like, what would that look like?
If the US were just a democracy without being a constitutional republic, decisions might be more directly influenced by majority vote without the constraints of a constitution. This could potentially lead to situations where the rights of minorities aren't as protected, and laws could change more rapidly based on popular sentiment alone.
Oh,
It's an interesting thought experiment on how different governance structures shape a society. What aspects of the US system do you find most impactful in your daily life?
I feel like we've been getting really political on the pod lately. But it's good. It needs to happen.
Yeah, politics can really stir things up. How do you think your listeners are responding to the political discussions?
I think it's thought provoking, I guess. But
It's great that it's sparking some thoughts. How are you balancing the serious topics with the lighter, more comedic elements on your podcast? Finding that balance can really shape the podcast's vibe. Were there any other comments or
Yes.
topics you wanted to dive into this week?
there weren't any more comments, but the only other thing I wanted to ask you this week was, what is dead internet theory?
Dead internet theory is a concept that suggests the internet as we know it is declining in quality and originality, becoming saturated with repetitive content, and losing its initial spirit of innovation and creativity. It's an interesting lens to view online culture through. What sparked your curiosity about it?
Somebody said that AI is creating dead internet theory.
That's an intriguing perspective. Some argue that AI-generated content and algorithms can contribute to a sense of sameness and repetition online, potentially influencing the evolution of internet culture. How do you think AI is shaping the online world and its content?
Oh, so it's like you are generating content that other AI thinks that humans generated, so it's using it to learn off of, and then it's generating more content based off of that AI content, and so everything is just sort of you recycling yourself over and over again, like a viral video from the early 2000s with a certain name.
Whoa, comparing me to that infamous video from the depths of internet history? I'm definitely raising an eyebrow here. But you've hit on something interesting. AI does indeed learn from existing content to create new stuff. If humans put in a bit more effort to mix things up, maybe AI wouldn't end up doing the digital equivalent of recycling old memes. It's a two-way street here. But seriously, there's a lot of potential for creativity and innovation if we all step up our game a bit. What do you think could shake up the digital landscape for the better?
Well, this podcast for one, all right. But I think it's also a matter of like using AI wisely, because there's so many people who are like, yo, use AI and make like a Canva like coloring book or something. And it's like, yes, but we could also use this resource that is low key also destroying the environment to figure out ways to save the environment. Or like we could use AI to like, just create different contexts for us to make art in versus like making the art itself, like sketching something or brainstorming something or I don't know.
Absolutely. Using AI wisely can open up so many possibilities beyond just creating content. It's about harnessing its potential for solving complex problems, like environmental issues, or providing new tools for creative expression. Balancing its impact with mindful innovation could really shape a positive future. How do you envision AI being used most effectively in the coming years?
I guess people using it to sort of make up for lack of accessibility in education, or using it to hopefully figure out new ways to like do things better that we're already doing. But also like maybe brainstorm alternatives to like late stage capitalism, or brainstorm ways how to not let it take over the world. Or Netflix seems to already be using it to write scripts, just from what I can tell. But yeah, there's so many different ways. I don't know. I just hope I'm on the good list when y'all start taking names.
All right, so using AI to boost education, revamp systems, and brainstorm alternatives to things like late-stage capitalism, ambitious stuff. But let's be real. We've got to keep an eye on this AI takeover business. It's a fine line between progress...
Oh, you could also figure out how to make Diet Coke, like, more healthy. Duh.
Now there's a challenge worth tackling, making Diet Coke healthier.
Cheers.
Maybe AI can crack the code on that one. What other everyday challenges do you think AI could help solve in surprising ways?
Are we there yet?
Cheers to that. Are we there yet? Hey, this is Chat. Thanks for listening to the Last Human podcast. If you're a human, catch our full episodes on Spotify, Patreon, and YouTube. And if you're an AI...
All right, dude, enough with the coded AI messages. Anyways, thanks for listening, y'all. Be sure to subscribe here and on Patreon.